Welcome to IQ session number 29. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Matt will join us now. Here's something I prepared earlier. We just want to thank you so much for investing into yourselves once again, and also for joining us and putting up with our terrible jokes. But
fantastic information, though.
Yeah.
Must admit.
Yeah.
It is like.
Yep. Anyway, tonight is all about how to get faster. A lot of you on here are specific to running, but this can be put into any form of any exercise, how to get faster, whether it be cycling, swimming, walking, doesn't matter. These are kind of the basic fundamentals for you.
Paddleboarding, kayaking, all those sorts of things where it comes in. But right off the bat, there's a prerequisite when it comes to getting quicker. And it's a bit of context, I suppose, the best way to put it. And the context is this. We have in our body fibers. One is fast twitch and the other one is slow twitch fibers. Now, some people are loaded with fast twitch fibers and some people are loaded with slow twitch fibers. So what you need to know is that not everyone is favored in one. So some are dominant in the other one. So a good example would be Usain Bolt, fastest man in the world. He has loaded with fast twitch fibers. He has the ability to go super quick, super fast, but it doesn't last forever. It's a short period of time. But if you said to him, go out and run a 5K run, he's probably going to tell you to stick it, because naturally for him, that would hurt more than running the sprints. Now, other people are the complete opposite. They can run forever, long distance, but you put them in a sprint and they're almost like they're barely moving because they just don't have it in them to go really quick. Okay. So the prerequisite to this is that when we're talking about improving your speed, we're actually talking about bringing it back to those fast twitch fibers and stimulating, because everyone has fast twitch fibers, just some have really dominant fast twitch fibers. I'm really struggling to get those words out.
You really are. So some people are just naturally wired to be able to run faster.
Sprint.
To sprint. Now, in saying that, everyone can get faster in whatever you are, whether you're a plotter or a sprint, it doesn't matter. However, when it comes to setting goals, if you're very dominant with the slow twitch fibers and you're currently maybe running at 8-minute kilometers, maybe a sub 4-minute kilometer may be a little bit of out of reach for you because your body's just not wired that way. But in saying that, doesn't mean you can't run 7-minute 50 kilometers. So everyone can get faster for whatever it might be, whatever your goals may be.
Yep. And then there's natural runners. You know who they are. Sheridan's probably a good example of that. She's a natural runner. She'll get out there and she can just have months off, get out there and just hook 10, 20, 30 kilometers and just naturally can take to it. Just mentally, physically can do it. So we would say she's quite a natural runner in the scheme of she has the ability to just go and do it. So she's wired that way to do it. Now she's got the blessing she has fast twitch fibers and slow twitch fibers. So she's not dominant in one, she just has a good blend of both. So she has the ability to dig in when it counts and really grind and hustle. And she has the ability to keep going when it's time to just get on with the distance. So time on your feet. So she's one of those people, we're going to call her in this situation here. She's one of those gifted runners. Then there's plotters. Okay. Now a plotter is someone who can just go forever, but they don't seem to ever get quicker. They just can just jog and they can keep going and they just hold that pace the whole time. And they will go for hours and hours and hours, but they just don't seem to get it done any quicker. Every run is the same tempo pretty much. So we've got people who plot, and then we've got people who just can't run, or they think they can't run and they stop themselves from doing it. And they really just battle to get into it. Okay. So we're going to talk about these three sort of running areas. And we're only referring to running because it's all transferable. Because if you talked about swimming, you'd have the same thing. People who can swim forever, people can go really fast, and people who struggle.
Running's really relevant because everyone that's on here at the moment are runners anyway. So or run at
athletes.
Some point. Yes, you are.
Yes.
Now I want to start it off with a quote. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. That's not really right English, though, is it? So if you're trying to get faster, but you keep going out and just doing the same thing, to expect a different result is kind of silly.
It's a definition of insanity.
It's yeah. So it's like the whole light bulb thing, you know, Edison, he tried like 3,000 times to create the light bulb, but he didn't try the same thing 3,000 times. He'd slightly tweak. So for you to get faster, it's not just if you, let's, for example, a 5K run, you want to get faster at your 5K time. It doesn't just come down to just keep going and running 5Ks. That has an element of it, but to get faster, that's not what you need to do. And to think that that's all you need to do is we're about to correct your thinking and help you, show you how to do it effectively, efficiently, and the best way.
Cool, easy. And I'm going to use myself as an example based off that 5K that I mentioned that Sheridan just did. So, because it leads into my first point that I got here, is do you have a goal? Because if you're just aiming to get quicker without a goal in mind or a time in mind or whatever it is, you're really just pissing into the wind and hoping that it doesn't get you, or you're hoping you hit your goal. So the reality is that without the goal, it's irrelevant. So my goal, and the only reason I'm going to use it because it's very relevant right now, is I haven't been able to run for a year, and I just started running a couple of weeks ago, and I had a goal of running sub 20 minutes for 5 kilometers, which means I have to run under 4-minute kilometers 5 times. So what I did is I had no base running. So my goal was to do a sub 20-minute 5K, and I hadn't run in a year. And my first goal was just to run. So I ran for 600 meters, celebrated that. It was a lap around the block at the gym. I came back, I was excited. The next run, I was like, cool, I'm going to run a kilometer. So I'll increase it. So I wasn't racing time. I was just time on my feet. So my goal was broken down from my sub 4-minute kilometers I have to do 5 times. And I stripped it right back and I broke it down into achievable tasks. First of all, I need to be able to get to 5Ks. And I didn't go straight into it. I just dripped it in 1 kilometer extra at a time. The next time I did it, I added 2 kilometers, then 3, then 4, then I got to 5Ks, not basing anything on time. It was irrelevant. Once I got to that, then I changed my training process. I thought I'm only going to do 1 kilometer, but fast as I can do it, because I have to be able to do them under 4 minutes. So I went out and I did a 3 minutes 54 or something like that. So I broke what I needed to do, 1 kilometer, and then I stopped and I walked inside and I went about the day. I didn't do anything extra. That was it. So I was happy to tick that box. Now, if I didn't tick that box, what I was going to do is the next run, because I only do 2 runs a week. I don't go every day because I need my body to be able to last and not break down on me. So I only do 2 runs a week. The second run, I would have done that 1 kilometer again, and I would have tried to get that same result. If I hadn't have got that second one, then I would have known I need to change something up, which is what Sheridan was talking about before. Because if I just keep trying to do the 1K, trying to get quicker, and I don't get quicker, it's not working. So what I would have done is I would have broken the kilometer down into 10 segments. There's 10 100s. So I would have made the kilometer up in sprints, and I would have done 10 sprints. And then I would have had a good rest in between them, go again. And I would have accumulated those times to see what it would have added up to. And that's how I would have changed my training. So I didn't worry about the 5K zone that I wasn't near. I didn't keep going for 5 kilometers. I would have stuck to a kilometer. I would have worked on getting it faster. And then once a week I would try it. And if it didn't work, the next run, I would change it into sprints. So interval training.
So what Matt's saying here is, in short, is that interval training is the way to get you faster. Not spending time on your feet, not doing longer distances to make the shorter one feel better. It's interval training. When we say interval training, we're actually meaning sprint training. So what sprint training looks like is go as fast as you can, whether it be for a set amount of time, distance, whatever it may be. Go as fast as you can. Then you need to rest and recover. Now, when we say rest and recover, that could be slowing right down to a jog, can be walking, doesn't necessarily matter. We can help you if you're wanting to look into this, we can help you decide what that is best for you. But we're going to go back to the big poo toilet flushing analogy. If you take a poo in the toilet and you flush it and it doesn't all go, and then you get nervous and you flush it straight away again, but the tank hasn't refilled yet, and so it doesn't actually put through a full flush. So what you need to do is you actually need to let the tank fill back up, ready to flush it properly again. And this is exactly what we're doing when it comes to sprint interval training, is you do actually need to let yourself recover so that you can have a better effort. We're going to call it sprint and effort, and get the most benefit out of it rather than trying to rush through.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that when it comes to, we use the definition of a 5K run, because 5K seems to be a challenge for a lot of people to run 5Ks, but it's an achievable one to get quicker at. because you can go out and do it faster. You can do it more regularly versus if you go out for a 21-kilometer run, it's hours out there to get quicker. Yeah. So we talk 5Ks because it's nice and fast, short and sharp, and it's a good result. Very achievable. Now, every person has, when you're training, there's zones of your heart rate that sits at. So you got zone 1, there's 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Zone 1 is your base. That's like 50% of your max heart rate. So you should be able to jog along. This is what we call zone 1, and the heart rate just be steady. So what happens when you start running? Yeah, walk, jog kind of thing. It's just easy. It's just natural for you to do it. It's not like you're not gasping for air. What you are doing though, whenever you start to exercise, your heart rate goes up and it will come back down and it will find where you are and it'll just move along at that rate.
Because your body wants to be as efficient as possible. So what happens is when you take off, your heart rate has to go higher because it's like, oh shit, we're running. I've got to get blood to the muscles and I've got to help this, my human, my body do what I need it to do. How long we're running for, we don't know. We've got to get a blood supply and we've got to get it fast. Yep. Then the body kind of goes, oh, okay. We're doing this. All right, we can make ourselves a lot more efficient. Let's lower that heart rate and we can just stay here forever.
Yeah. It's just like it's found its gear range and it's just easy. And you'll know what it is. It's like when you're out for a walk, you can walk for hours versus if you go out for a fast run, you can't do that for hours. You have to do less because the heart rate stays up too high and it needs a rest. Zone 2 is the next one. It's about 60 to 70% of your effort. So this area here is kind of when you're going for a 5K run. This is the place where most people sit in this one here, zone 2, right? So zone 1, zone 2, that's plodding, that's running, that's long distance running. That's where everyone sits. You do not sit in 3, 4, and 5 because they're very high and the heart rate sitting up there takes energy. It's all the energy. You want to be, like Sheridan said, as efficient as possible. So you're learning to stay in zone 1 and 2. That's where you're going to live to be an efficient runner. That's what you need to do, okay? So your heart rate sits in there, nice and efficient. Now, to get that heart rate efficient, you have to train in zones 3, 4, and 5. That's spiking the heart rate, doing intervals, and every now and then, zone 5 is max heart rate. It is push it to the limits. It's find a hill and sprint up that hill as fast as you can, and at the end of it, you kind of want to feel a bit sick. Mm-hmm. That kind of feeling is that's max heart rate training.
So just to repeat what Matt just said, you want to train in zone 3, 4, and 5 to improve your zone 1 and 2.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're trying to increase your speed. All runs are done in zone 1 and 2. That's where you live. And every now and then they tap into these other zones. So we need a good base. We need time on our feet. We need to, first of all, you saw I did it. I tried to get to 5 kilometers first. That's time on my feet. I need to be able to do the distance. I got to the distance and then I needed to work on my speed. So I changed it by doing less distance, faster. So I went to zone 3. It was actually zone 4 and 5 because I was gassed out every time. But because I was so unfit. But what it meant was I trained in that zone to get better at the zone 1 and 2. So when I do my longer run, I'm going to be fitter.
And just if you don't take what Matt just said out of context, if you hit zone 4 and 5, doesn't mean you're unfit. It just means you're working hard because it doesn't matter how fit you are. If you push yourself hard enough, you can reach zone 4s and 5s for sure. So it's all about effort, not necessarily your fitness at that time.
Yeah, exactly. So the key, which we keep coming back to, is interval training. When you do interval training, is based on effort. So spiking your heart rate as high as you possibly can for a short period of time, let it recover, the toilet analogy, let the tank refill, which means your heart rate has to come down. So a really cool way of training, it's called fartlek training, which is if you went out for a run, say I was going to do a 3-kilometer run and I'm running around my streets and all the power poles. So you sprint a power pole, you walk a power pole, you jog a power pole, you sprint a power pole, you walk a power pole, and you just do that for the 3 kilometers. But your sprint is zone 4, 5. It's everything. It's not like increase my speed a little bit and back off. It's like I'm giving you everything I've got for this zone. And then I'm going to back off to zone 1 and 2 again. And those are the walk and the jogs. And that whole purpose of zone 1 and 2 is to get the heart rate down under control. The sprint set is everything you've got, get it out of control and then bring it back down again.
So we've actually been doing this in VGO, so our virtual TGO. Whether you've noticed it or not, this is actually how we've been running those sessions. Now, this is kind of like when it comes to strength training. You don't just lift a light weight repeatedly to get stronger, we overload the muscles. So we want to lift heavier weights to get stronger. It's exactly the same here. We're overloading the heart and we're overloading the muscles, we're overloading the body so that we can get better at it. But we have to go through that overload stage to get better, faster, stronger, fitter.
Absolutely. And the next step after this one here is, today was a prime example. I was meant to do 3 kilometers today, under 12 minutes. That was my goal. It was blowing a gale, 30, 40 kilometer winds. It was never going to happen unless it was on my back and I was running a straight line down the thing. So I was like, I can't effectively achieve the goal I wanted to set out today. So instead of being bum and not going out for a run, I sucked it up. I went out for the run and I turned it into efforts. So I knew one way I'd have wind on my back. I knew the other way would be wind in my face. And it was horrible. It was hard. It was everywhere. It was messy. It was raining. It was wet. But I went and did 4 1K efforts. So I did 1 more kilometer than I had to do because I thought if I'm out here, I'm going to do it right. And I went and did it. So what I had today was I had resistance. I had resistance from the weather, which was making it harder for me. Now, if it's harder for me and I have to train through the slog, it means the next run, if it's a calm day and wind, is going to be easy for me because I was training in a resistant environment. Now, I didn't run up any hills, or there's one incline I had to go up. But the idea is if you don't have a windy day that gives you a bit of resistance for running or whatever it is you're doing, then you find things like hills and stairs and things. The beach is another great one because the sand's so much harder to run in and things like that. So the resistance builds stress on the body, which is what we're trying to do, because when it's stressed and then it's repaired, it becomes stronger. And when you become stronger, you become faster, you become fitter. So the idea is it's constantly about stressing the body, letting it recover, not running every day because that's not letting it recover. It's literally about letting it go under stress and then let it recover, then go out and do another one. So you break your training into 2 sets, really. You do a training run, which is based around threshold training, which is the interval-based stuff. And you do another one that's based around your goal which is time on your feet, focus on getting to the goal. 2 runs, maybe 3 if you wanted to, a week, no sort of more than that.
Yeah, we don't recommend any more than 3 runs a week purely because of how grueling it is on the body. A lot of impact through the joints and also not necessarily necessary. If you are training for something like a marathon, so something a lot bigger distances, we do break it into 3 runs. One is time on your feet, so it's literally just like staying the slow twitch fibers and just plodding and just going for it for a certain amount of time or a distance, and that's usually the longest run of the week. Then we have a speed run, so this is a shorter run than the distance you're trying to get to, but it's all about just as fast as you can for that time. And then it's an interval run. So there's time on your feet, speed, and then intervals. And
the interval and those 2 other ones, and sort of no more than 30 minutes, 30 minutes, very short. But the one on the weekend, generally, because it's time-based, is time on your feet, relevant to your goal. So that's the time that you're going and you're going to go and have a look at it from that point of view. So it's pretty easy to think about it. So you need that resistance in your training, which is what we like to aim to do by putting in any kind of sprint training as resistance based, because it's effort. And a good idea of understanding if it's a resistance is if you're out of breath at the end of the effort, that is resistance, because it's really hard. It means you've given everything you've got. And what people tend to do when they are doing running is they tend to worry, and if it's you, I suggest that you don't, what people think of them running. So they're worried about what they look like. Because if you give a max effort of resistance, your face doesn't look pretty. It should be like, you should be like screaming almost. And now you don't want to run past people. Most people are too worried about how they look and they run. Like they want to stay zone 1, 2 because they look composed and just in case someone sees them. You need to get gritty. You need to get ugly. You need to just forget about people because they don't actually watch you.
It needs to get uncomfortable for sure.
Easy. Cool.
Jazz had a really great question that, although we semi-answered it, I would love to question you, Matt. Is there a preferred time? Like, would you suggest rather than just would you suggest like 30-second intervals versus 200-meter intervals, or is it dependent on your goals, or is it as much as you can do? Would you go max effort, like sprint as long as you can, as far as you can, then recover as soon as you're recovered, go again? What would you suggest?
I would say do as less as you can. So naturally in your body, you have, there's an energy system in there which gives you 10 seconds of natural bam, bam, bam energy. And it's just molecules snapping apart, which gives you a spark of energy. And that's why Usain Bolt is so quick, because for 10 seconds, he doesn't need to use oxygen. He could hold his breath the whole time and the body will give him everything he needs. The moment you break past 10 seconds, it requires an energy shift. It requires food to come in all of a sudden. But for the first 10 seconds, no matter what you're doing, it's snapping apart, giving you natural energy. And it's the most powerful bit of energy you can possibly give it. You want to use that energy, which is only about 10 seconds. Because what I find is if you give yourself 30 seconds, you pace. You can't hold that speed for very long. So you're trying to last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So you want to go max effort, which is 10, maybe 15 if you can drag it out a little bit longer and you want to reach that pole that's just up there or whatever. But that's why the power poles are so great, because they're generally randomly spaced. So sometimes you have a long one and you have to grind it out, and sometimes they're really short, but you can just smash that energy system where it snaps apart and then go back to the other systems which don't need that.
That's called the ATP system, adenosine triphosphate.
Whoa.
I'm dropping knowledge bombs on y'all. So if you would like to research more into it, it is called the ATP system, and it is when the molecules, the ATP molecules break apart, because there's 3 energy systems. ATP is your first 0 to 10 seconds. Then you've got your, sorry, not that one. Then you've got your aerobic system, your anaerobic, and then you've got your aerobic systems as well.
So when you're in the aerobic system, right now we're all on the aerobic system. We're sitting here at zone 1. It's easy. I don't have to do anything. My heart rate's just going about the day.
It's using oxygen. Aerobic, which is your oxygen system, to fuel the energy in your body, to fuel the systems.
And so that right now, this is the most efficient we can be. Okay. So this is how you look at it pretty much. But if I said to you, cool, you need to jump up really quickly, that switches back to the ATP system. So it snaps that molecule to make that happen really fast. Which is really cool.
So I think one myth that we really like to bust is that a lot of old school trainers, and this usually comes into people that are kind of like 40 plus, that kind of age group has been taught to go out and do time is results, and time is not necessarily results. It's effort and its effectiveness gives you the best results. What we want to teach people is the most simplistic way to get the best results, and by being efficient, so shorter, sharper. So they say short and fast exercise gives short and fast results, long slow exercise gives long slow results, and the same thing comes for this. When you're training for something or you want to improve on your speed, as little time as possible means there's less chance for injury as well, because it's like a car. The car will drive thousands of kilometers, yes, but the tires are going to wear out quicker, rather than if you just drive to the shop and back, a few times versus driving cross country, the wear out on the tires is going to be different. You're going to need to replace the oil quicker and all those kind of things. So we want to educate you guys on bringing it back. You don't need to spend hours in a gym, just like we do 30 minutes. If Matt had it his way, all of our sessions would only be like 10 to 15 minutes.
12.
But I don't think
you guys aren't ready for it yet.
Society's not ready for that just
coming.
Yet. But it's do as much as you can in the shortest amount of time, because time on your feet doesn't necessarily mean getting the results.
Cool. And it's such an old school way of training, and it's not to say it doesn't work. I'm not discrediting that if you go out and do long cycles and long runs and you do it every day, that you won't achieve a result. That's not what we're saying at all. What we are saying is that is going to beat the body up.
Yeah, and that's you don't have to.
No.
If you do that for mental health, great, go for it. But understand that the chance of injury probably can come on a lot sooner. And if you enjoy it, do what you enjoy, but don't be scared about, don't shy away from running and those kind of things because you think that you have to spend so much time on them. You really don't. You can get faster at a 5K run by spending 10 minutes on intervals. You don't need to go out crazy fast.
No.
Melinda's got a great question here. So should we only be doing one long hard run a week and anything else shorter? So it comes down to, first of all, what is your goal? Are you wanting to do 5, 10, 15, 21, 42 kilometers? That'll really depend on your long run. Do you like it? Do you want to? If you want to get faster at a 5K, there's no need to run any further than 5 kilometers. Again, we're trying to keep it as short and as time efficient as possible so that you're not breaking down as well. But the most important thing is intervals. If you're only going to do one run in a week, interval training is your first priority. So kind of like how we've focused on calories and eating before, calories are number one and then macros come in second. Same here, intervals is number one. If you want to get faster or just be efficient and effective, interval sprint training is your first priority. You should be not missing that one. Does that kind of answer your question? Excellent. But it does kind of really depend on your goals from there. So 1 to 3 runs a week kind of tops, and at least one interval training. You can do all interval trainings if you want, and then test your 5K every, once a month kind of thing, whatever works for you. But we're here, so please reach out if you do have a goal. We'd love to chat to you and help you plan out the best way to get you to your goal in as short amount of time as possible.
Yeah. And remember, interval training is stressful on the body. Like, it's designed to stress it out so that it can repair. So we break it apart and then we let it heal so it becomes stronger. That's the whole purpose of resistance training. The feeling of DOMS is the microfibers, the muscle fibers in your body tearing, and then they repair over time, which takes about a week, which is why we suggest only once a week strength training, because it needs time to repair so that when it comes back 1 week later, it's actually stronger than it was the week before. Versus if you train all the time, you're constantly training on torn muscles, which is hence you don't get progress, you get stagnation, you get plateaus. So you're trying to avoid that. So constantly, if you're running all the time every day, this is where a plateau kicks in, because the body never has time to recover. And so people get frustrated. So what you do is you do the interval training, stress the body out. And if you like your goal of the 5K, the 10K, whatever it is, you'd only commit to that once a week. And that's only so that you do it either to achieve your goal, or if it is a mental health based thing that you love to run 10 kilometers to clear the head, then that would be the purpose of it. But reality is that when you want to get faster at something, you have to track the data. You need to get yourself a smartwatch. And the reason I say you need to is because all the data you need is on it. The heart rate zones, everything's on there, everything's recorded at the time. You can literally store everything. Versus if you just look at the clock as you run out the door, you have no idea what the heart rate's doing. You only know what the time is when you return, which shows you if you're quicker, yes. But the reality is that you need to know, was I efficient? Was I training right? Was I doing it hard? Was I spiking out too much? Was I making it harder than I needed to make it? Do I need to change my training? So a smartwatch is a really great investment, and they're so, I think, affordable right now.
We really recommend Garmin's. Garmin's above all really are.
We've found that they're the most reliable, and that's through us putting them on, one on each wrist. So comparing it to an Apple Watch and running at the same time, an Apple Watch generally reads wrong by quite a bit. And
heart rate wise is a lot higher, we've found in the past.
False reads. So it's not the true data, but you got to remember that Garmin specialize in GPS and all heart rate. That's what they focus on. Apple specializes in technology, and they play in the field of heart rate because they know that's what the consumer wants. So they've played in the market, but that's not their specialty. They're not looking for the best GPS equipment, best reading data. Not yet. It may come.
It's just like if Garmin bought out a phone, you'd probably go the Apple phone over the Garmin because it's Apple's specialty. Same deal. But highly recommend watch. And also because you can break it down and celebrate the wins. So, if you go out and just run a 5 kilometers and you look at the time and it's cool, it's 25 minutes. And then you go next week and it's 25 minutes. There's no data to compare to, and you can beat yourself up because it's not faster. However, if you then get a smartwatch, you can then go, oh, actually my second K was like 10 seconds faster. That's amazing. All right, I'm going to celebrate those wins as well.
And I'm going to read what I did today because I did 4 efforts, and I'm going to explain exactly what Sheridan just said. So give me a second as I bring it up. So 4 runs, and my first run was the slowest. So my first K was 4 minutes 27. That's a problem because I need to be under 4 minutes. And I ran with the wind on my back and it took me 4 minutes 27. So I stopped, caught my breath, let my heart rate come back down, ran the second one, did it in 3 minutes 51. So that's a good thing. I'm under 4 minutes. First one was tanked. Second one was good. I reached the end and now I had to come back into the wind. So this is like 30, 40 Ks. It was stupid. Sand bashing my face and everything. 4 minutes 17 for the first K, and the second K was 4 minutes 11. So I actually got quicker as it went on with the wind coming at me. So my resistance side of it, which was the second 2 kilometers I did, were the hardest ones I did, but they're actually quicker than the first K I did, which I had the wind on my back. So instead of me beating myself up that I only got 1 under the 4 minutes, I was kind of happy that I broke 4 kilometer efforts, which is 1K more than I wanted to do. I ran in the wind, I ran in the rain, so that I know the day that I aim to do this 5 kilometers in under 20 minutes, I know that I've been through worse conditions, because I will not pick a day that's like that to run my 5K.
What kind of time breaks did you have in between each effort of 1 kilometer?
It's probably about a minute and a half, maybe. It was just to get my heart rate down.
That's kind of dependent on your fitness level. That's when the fitness does come into it. The fitter you are, the quicker your heart rate returns to normal, to ground zero. But the rest period honestly doesn't matter. That's not where the gold is. The gold is in the effort. So your max effort is where you get the gold nuggets.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see, that GPS has just kicked on, sorry. So this is on my Garmin. I've only got a basic Garmin. I don't go for the big fancy. I'm just remember that GPS. So on the side here, sorry, over here, you can see the colors. And basically that I'm doing nothing, but my heart rate was at 98 just then. And the zones go on the wrong side. The zones go up from there. So as the zones go up, basically that's what I do. So what I was doing in between my breaks is they were reading in the orange, which is a zone 4. So really high when I was doing my K, and then I wait for it to get down into the blue, which is zone 2. The moment it hit zone 2, that's when I ran my next one. And that took me about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. And then I ran again. So when my heart rate was under control, where felt like I wasn't gasping for air, that's when I started the next kilometer. So I didn't go straight away. I didn't give it 10 minutes. I just waited for my heart rate to get down into zone 2, where I wanted to be a little uncomfortable. So when I ran the next one, it spiked up into that zone 3, 4, 5 kind of range. Cool. Easy.
And same thing when it comes to boot camps and things as well. You always want to try and spike your heart rate as high as possible. Never be fearful of having a really high heart rate when you're exercising. We don't want it to be high when you're not exercising, because that can lead to some health risks and challenges and stuff. Because the fitter you are, generally speaking, the lower your heart rate will be. I think mine sits at about 43 as a resting heart rate. But when I'm exercising, like if I go for a 5K run, my heart rate will get up to almost 200. And they'll say that your max heart rate is 220 minus your age. That's a very general rule of thumb. And it doesn't matter how high you can get it. The higher, the better, because it means you're working hard, because we're looking to get overloading. We're looking to get, it's like lift as heavy as you possibly can. Same deal when it comes to that. So when you are doing boot camps, try and we say a good general thing is to average your heart rate at 150. If you get an average of 150, it means you've worked hard, but then try and spike it as high as you can. That's kind of your goal, because that is directly related to your effort, really. I think that's
it.
I think that kind of ticks all the boxes that we wanted to tick tonight. Do you guys have any questions? Is there anything that we haven't fully covered? Anything that we've missed? Anything you'd like further clarification on?
Just remember that some people are just, they're plodders. So you don't have the luxury of being able to take off like someone like Sheridan can just take off all of a sudden mid-run and pick up her pace for a kilometer because she feels like picking it up. Some people don't have that luxury, that it feels that easy to do that. So you may just be one of those people who plods, and your process of getting quicker is going to take a lot more focus on the speed work, so it can transfer into your run or your swim or whatever.
But if you do have a goal, please reach out. Let us know your goal. Let us help you plan this, because you don't have to be the expert. We've done the training. So let us help you, and that's what we're here for. And we'd love to support you on that journey too, and help you do as little as possible, but get the results that you want to get. So but please, reach out if you do have a goal. We'd love to help you break it down, give you a bit of a plan, and help guide you through that journey as well.
And especially when in this time right now where there's no events, there's no real sort of goal, because most people set a goal by saying, I'm going to do the Melbourne Marathon, and that is the goal, and that's how they structure their planning, their training plan too. That's not around at the moment, and we don't know when those events are going to come back. So you need to kind of create an event, and quite often increasing a time for a distance that you can control, and you don't need an event to tell you when it can or can't do it. So by having a goal of time for something like a 5K run, it just gives you a bit of purpose for the training, for the run. Otherwise, you just, like I said, you're pissing in the wind, and it's like, what a waste of time. Like, it could get you might get it, you might not, and you just lose interest in the whole idea of it. So the idea is you want to have a bit of purpose, and quite often a goal that stretches you is what's going to get you there. So easy. Cool. You're done.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much again for investing your Thursday evening with us. Please reach out if you have any questions. We'd love to support you. And if you are around at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, we do VGO, which is virtual great outdoors. You can do it on a treadmill. You can do it on a spin bike, on a bike, or run in the great outdoors, wherever you are. And because we do actually go through this kind of training. So
and you could actually do it in the ocean if you had the waterproof headphones and swim.
You're an idiot. You could, but why would you even suggest that?
I think Ash is thinking about it.
Oh, she loves to swim. Yeah. But yeah, so please jump on board with us on a Saturday morning, 8 a.m. It's just through Zoom. So you just have your headphones in, and I'll be instructing you. I'm your DJ from Fit Body Fit Mind Studios. And I help you go through that kind of process too. So great way to do it with a bunch of peeps and listen to my sweet dulcet tones. That'll make you run fast, trust me. Scary. Anyway, you legends, if there's no more questions, thank you guys again so much for joining us. But if you do have a goal that we can help you with, please reach out.
Thanks, legends.
You guys awesome. Thank you guys so much. Ciao.